everyone, I'm Lauren Domino. I'm chair of the Young Rotary Leaders Committee and a member of the Arts Committee, and I'm happy to get this program started. So how many of you remember going to piano lessons after school? Ballet class, yeah? Drama camp? Okay, maybe that was just me on the drama camp. For many youth in our community, the arts are out of reach. Families can't afford these programs, and schools have cut them from budgets. A decade ago, I was first introduced to Arts Corps and experienced the power of their programs firsthand. I was leading an after-school drama program at the Meadowbrook low-income housing community and was blown away by the impact this program had on the youth. Arts Corps helped them work collaboratively, discover their creativity, find their voice, and foster the courage to use these skills to change the world around them. Elizabeth Whitford has served as Arts Corps' executive director since 2008, moving their vision, strategies, and programs towards greater impact and social justice in arts education. Prior to Arts Corps, Elizabeth focused her work on building voice and capacity within oppressed communities as the founding operations director for Northwest Native Foundation, Potlatch Fund, and as the executive director of LGBTQ-focused Odyssey Youth Center. Elizabeth is also an active advisor for the Creative Advantage, which you're going to hear more about today. Join me in giving Elizabeth a warm Rotary welcome.
Thank you so much. It's really wonderful to be here. And I don't know if all of you have really thought about arts education as sort of a critical community issue or need, or have given it much thought, but in fact, arts education is central and a critical component of what it is that we need to create thriving young people, thriving schools, and thriving communities. Arts education is actually, I think among all subjects, a bellwether for inequity in our public school system. In fact, in Seattle, we learned that race is the greatest predicting factor of whether a young person is going to be participating in a school arts education program. Family income, special education status, English language learner status, all of those things predict whether a young person has access to an arts education. Arts Corps works to try to close that opportunity gap in access to arts education through the power of really incredible teaching artists working in all different art forms through a network of after-school programs throughout the area, as well as partnering with classroom teachers to integrate the arts into other course subjects. In our 15 years, we have never seen the momentum that we see today to try to close that opportunity gap because of the creation of Creative Advantage and the work that is now coming together as a community with our city and our district really partnering towards a solution, and it's really encouraging. This is critically important because we know that arts education develops the creative and critical thinking skills that young people need. It develops an engagement in school and a love for lifelong learning. And it builds pathways to creative economies and to voice and to the ability to have change in our community. Creativity in our organizations, in our businesses, in our community requires diversity of thought and perspective. We need to invest in building pathways so that all young people with their diverse background and perspective and experiences have pathways to share that voice and to help us develop the creative solutions we need for our Seattle community. And if you need any proof for the power of that and the power of creative voice from young people, all you need to do is meet Carlos Nieto here. Carlos is a graduate of Seattle Public Schools and a student at the University of Washington. He participated in an after-school program with Arts Corps in middle school, and in high school found his way to our program called Youth Speaks Seattle. And when I say Youth Speaks Seattle, you're all supposed to say Youth Speaks. All right, so let's try that. Youth Speaks Seattle. Okay. It's our spoken word poetry program that kind of at its pulls together eventually a slam series. Carlos won the Grand Slam for Seattle a couple years ago and represented us. Yeah. He represented Seattle with his powerful voice at the International Brave New Voices Poetry Championship. He's an incredible leader and now a mentor for the young folks coming up behind him in Youth Speaks. And I'm really honored to pass the mic over to Carlos. Thank you, Carlos.
Hi. I'm going to be performing two poems. I hope you like them. Seagulls awake me in the morning. We live by the beach, you see. We live by the beach, you see. Cecilia's still in mourning of her lost childhood. She was a peace crane. I was a peace crane. She was a Viking, a Quaker, an eagle. I was an eagle too. I was an eagle too. We've lived in this hood for like forever. Most people have too. But if we've lived here longer than you, whose hood is it really? It doesn't make much sense to hurt your neighbor, oh neighbor, oh neighbor. We both know the feeling of having nothing in our refrigerators but a box of baking soda. Soda is cheap. So are burgers and french fries and donuts too. Know how it feels to not have parents at field trips and soccer games. Rent is rising and single mothers with blistered fingers perform ancient magic tricks at the end of each month to hold this old roof over your young little head. We know the feeling of laying awake in bed at 2 a.m. in the morning hearing cannons not even a block away. The other day I found a bullet shell in the Safeway parking lot. For heaven's sake, please get home safe. We know the feeling of holding on to a little patch of land so far away but so close to the heart it hurts. Voices never sound the same on the telephone. Voices never sound the same on the telephone. Compared to the human ear, a telephone transmits a narrower bandwidth of frequencies. So even if we scream, our families will never really know what we sound like. Oh neighbor, oh neighbor. Our first memories were of dirt roads and banana trees, brown and yellow. But we know the feeling of oversaturation of blue and red lights at night appointed by the city to keep watching us, as if they actually cared about what happens to us, always parked up in the grocery store parking lots, always waiting, always watching, always waiting for something to happen, always preventative policing, but never around when you really need them. We'd both get beat up before we ever called no coward with a killer ego. Know the feeling of how they attack us. Expensive condos, PCCs, and CrossFit studios don't have to make a sound to hurt us. They just dig and dig and dig until we have to move even further south to Kent. Oh Renton, oh neighbor, oh neighbor. We walk the same concrete. Our dialects are different, but we have the same look in our eye. Tired of this BS. We are in this together. We are not that different. You and I, see me eye to eye. Love me as your neighbor. We live in the beach, you see. We live by the beach, you see. We both awake to the squawks of seagulls in the morning. Amen. Thank you. This land was made for you and me. You are the only proof, the only evidence our ancestors existed, so hold yourself up like a treasured artifact. Let no one tell you you are anything less. Within you is a hell-flame beast you must learn to control. Your grandfather used to punish me. And your great-grandfather used to hit him, and your great-great-grandfather used to beat him until his psyche would bleed. So when I tell you that I am trying to heal from this abuse before you are born, know that the counselor is not only healing me, but generations of sick souls. I am there because your grandfather didn't have the courage to. I am there because forgiveness is a word we never learned in our family. I am there to break cycles and unlearn, lest our disgusting habits of beating our women and children be passed down on you, lest you ever consider the phrase "you look indigenous" as an insult. Lest you ever see your own people as ugly and stupid. I will break myself down to build you up if I have to. Give you the proper tools to rebuild the village and love who you are. For generations they have taught us to hate who we are. We cannot keep running from mirrors. Be as strong as a woman giving birth and weak enough to know that you are not the center of the universe. The only way our youth will be lost is if we forget our elders. Remember me. Remember them. You are how you treat others. I love you so much, though I've never met you. I love you so much, though you've never been born yet. Be everything you want to be. You are the only proof I ever existed. Thank you.
Wow. Carlos, thank you so much for being here today, for sharing your words with us, and for taking the time to compose them and sharing them with the world. You're amazing.